Well, we're really about a week or so away from the first phase of elections. And I want to remind our viewers, and we put that up on the screen, of the Karnataka election swearing in. When Kumaraswamy was being sworn in as the Chief Minister of Karnataka, it was very clear that a Mahagathbandhan, or a grand alliance, was being announced. It had an array of parties and politicians on stage, and they were promising to come together to fight the BJP. Since then, several of those partners and those partnerships have come apart. The Congress is actually left with just a handful of allies. So there are various questions to be asked. There are lots of questions that are being asked by people who are watching this very closely. And this is information really that voters are going to want. Does this mean that the Grand Alliance has come apart? And if it has, why? Or are these various politicians contesting the elections alone because there is a master plan in place? In states like Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal and Maharashtra, which are extremely important to the numbers, why is it the Congress has not been able to hold its alliances together? Well, to answer those questions, on the show with me are no politicians at all. We have just analysts and journalists, people who've been watching politics for a very long time, because we're going to look at this from the outside. We don't want the politicians actually to give us their point of view. On the show with me, Qurban Ali, senior journalist, Ashutosh, who's a senior journalist himself, Kingshuk Nag, Bharat Kumar Rao, a political analyst, Vinay Tiwari, consulting editor with the Times Network. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the show. A quick look at everything that has happened so far in a quick package to bring our audience up to speed, and then we'll come back and break it up into states and find out what went wrong in every incident. Take a look.
On the debate tonight, the status of the Mahagathbandhan. Just in the month of May last year, leaders cutting across party lines joined hands with one quest: to crush the Modi-led NDA government. 10 months on, since the massive show of strength, this united front seems to be crumbling, or rather crumbled. Mocking the alliance that was to be taking on the ruling party, the BJP labelled the Gathbandhan a recipe for disaster. State after state, parties are going their separate ways. Apart from Bihar and Karnataka, the Congress party is left fighting the election battle all alone. In West Bengal, Mamta refused to join hands with Congress, and in Uttar Pradesh, the BSP-SP alliance was unwilling to partner the grand old party. And the Congress refused to partner with Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. With Rahul Gandhi contesting from a second constituency from Kerala's Wayanad, all talks of a grand alliance failed even before it started. Mirror now asks, was Mahagathbandhan merely a photo op? Are the parties strong enough to take on the might of Modi?
Well, that's the question. Are these parties strong enough to take on the BJP? And if they're not coming together, will they split the votes then in their respective states? That's the question. Let me go first to Vinay Tiwari. Vinay, obviously, and we were together in this very studio when that photo op happened in Karnataka. We were talking about all of them standing in a line, bringing an alliance together. And at that point, it seemed very clear that the one aim of this alliance was not to allow the BJP to come to power, which they demonstrated in Karnataka. Has that aim sort of wavered a little bit, because they each seem to have at this point their own goals?
It has wavered, and it has also wavered because Congress is in a deep conflict internally. A large amount of that conflict is coming internally from the state units. The dilemma in front of them is their aim and goal to win the 2019 elections or do better, or at least pip the Modi government, or to resurrect the party, which is in a disarray in many instances.
Wouldn't those things be the same thing though?
It wouldn't be, for the simple reason that if your aim and larger intention is to resurrect the party,
yes,
for that to actually go into an alliance would be counterproductive, because it affects the voters, it affects the workers on the ground. It denies people an opportunity to actually participate in the process and to build a worker base. You are handing over some of your strength areas to another party, which will use that opportunity to build its own base. I mean, remember, most of India's state parties are born out of anti-Congressism and were at one point of time born out of the Congress. So they are competing for the exact same vote bank that Congress once enjoyed, and now that they don't enjoy it anymore, your pitted against a problem of either you look for the short-term goal or the long-term goal. And in many ways, they're falling between the two stools, because in state after state, they're confused about, is it about Modi or is it about a long-term resurrection?
In fact, before we move on from that, Mr. Rao, do you believe, I mean, in order for the Congress to be resurrected, it has to be a little dead, at least to begin with. Do you believe the Congress party at this point needs resurrection? Is that, in your mind as well, the main problem they're facing?
Yes, the thing is that today, talking about this Mahagathbandhan or Grand Alliance, I think it's a dream. It is not coming to reality in any case for several reasons. I would like to explain it a little more. Thing is that in an alliance like this, there has to be one major force that is the driving force, and that should take all the other alliances with them, other constituents with them. Here what has happened in today's situation, Congress is supposed to be the major party, but it is a very weak party. It cannot stand on its own. Therefore, there is a problem. Number two, the Congress has at least 20 seats, 20 states are not with Congress, and rest of all other constituents are the regional parties. Mind it is regional parties. There is only one national force, that is Congress. In this situation, it is an odd combination. So they cannot come together, because if you allow, if you announce Rahul Gandhi's name as presidential prime minister candidate, it means all other constituents, they will go away from you, because their followers in their respective states, for example, Mamata in Bengal or Sharad Pawar in Maharashtra, their followers, they perceive their leader as the prime minister candidate. The moment before election, if you say that they are not the prime minister candidate and Rahul Gandhi is the prime minister candidate, whose party is weak, it cannot win the election on its own, then nothing will happen. In BJP, on the other hand, BJP is the strongest party, and other the regional parties, they had to come together by force. That type of alliance can happen, but not the Mahagathbandhan like this. And I can give you the example of 1971 elections, when there was supposed to be Badi Aghadi that contested against Indira Gandhi, but that did not succeed. So that is the situation. So I don't see any future for this Mahagathbandhan. Either it will fall apart before the election, or all together will fail.
Well, a different point of view. Ashutosh, do you believe or do you agree that there are too many aspirants at this point? And it's true that this particular, on one hand, there's the BJP. And while all eyes are on the BJP and the Congress, this is about regional parties. This election will be about these regional parties and the power they wield within their own states. Do you believe that there are too many prime ministerial aspirants inside of this Grand Alliance?
Faye, I think the two fundamental things, let's not forget that coalition by nature is fragile. There are coalitions, that's why it's... second point is the coalition by nature is full of conflicts and contradictions. So if we forget the basic fundamental nature of coalition, then we can reach to wrong conclusions. This country has been run by 27 political parties led by Manmohan Singh for the good 10 years. Atal Bihari Vajpayee led a government which was led by 23. He was the leader of the 23 political parties NDA, and he ran for 6 years. So let's not get very schizophrenic about these things. I can understand that these political parties will find it difficult to come together. But there is one underlining thread is, and the lining thread is that they come what may, BJP should not win and Mr. Modi should not be the Prime Minister. In 2019, the opposition unity index was almost abysmal. There was no opposition unity index in 2014. In 2019, there is an opposition unity index. So that's a fundamental difference. The point number two, if anybody is expecting a Mahagathbandhan at the national level, I think that is not going to happen. That structure will never come up, because this time the strategy is very different. The strategy is that if you have a All India Mahagathbandhan that Mr. Modi will successfully project, that's what opposition leaders think, that with whom I had an interaction with, that Modi will say that everybody is against him. So they will not going to project in Mahagathbandhan at the national level, but there are Gathbandhans at the regional levels. See, take the example of UP, which is going to be very, very potentially disastrous for BJP, because BSP and the Samajwadi Party is a very formidable alliance. They do not need Congress to defeat BJP in UP. So what I'm saying is that, like in West Bengal Congress is almost non-existent there. CPM has also become non-existent. The fight is between Mamata Banerjee and the BJP. Everybody knows that. So even if BJP, Congress and the Mamata Banerjee is squabbling to each other, it has no consequence. So what I'm trying to say is that to rubbish at this stage is expecting too much. The coalitions are formed, announced, even on the last day of polling also, like exactly in Kairana, in Phulpur, and in Gorakhpur, the similar things happen. BSP and Samajwadi Party, they forged an alliance, I think a few days before polling, and in all three states, in all three constituencies, they had a positive result.
Okay. So I just want to come back to this, and we need to talk about Uttar Pradesh. But the idea that this is an anti-Modi alliance means that it doesn't have any ideology of its own. There's no shared positive ideology. They don't have a mandate of what they want to do for this country, what they want to deliver. They only want to stand against one man. And is that why they're cracking?
Yes, I have a slight disagreement with Ashutosh on only two examples. He's right that in the 90s, the Congress ran coalition governments. But remember, in the 90s, Congress was much stronger than what it is today.
Yes.
This is the weakest they've ever been. And when you see any party, when it sees the principal party weak, they will not yield an inch. BSP is not willing to yield an inch to the Congress, principally because BSP today has occupied exactly the space the Congress vacated in UP. The entire Dalit vote bank that the Congress enjoyed.
And Mayawati would be worried that if she allies with the Congress at this point, that Dalit vote bank might actually seep back into its
Why
home.
would she want to lose something she's already gained over the last 15-20 years of hard work? She wouldn't want to lose that at all. So she's not yielding an inch. Some pragmatic politicians like Arvind Kejriwal, despite and Ashu knows Arvind better than anybody else here, the fact of the matter is that he is perhaps pragmatic enough to know that his existence is getting wiped out if he doesn't tie up. That's why he was desperate for a Congress tie-up. And in this case, the Congress is not blinking because, again, AAP's birth pretty much happened because of anti-Congressism in that sense.
Yes.
And if you then defeat the very plank on which you came to power, you have a problem.
And one understands also that apparently there are a lot of senior leaders in the Congress party in Delhi who are anti-AAP, who don't want this alliance in any way. So the Congress is also faced with pushback from inside, which it's going to have to work against. Kingshuk Nag, senior journalist joining us out of Hyderabad. Mr. Nag, again, very interesting sort of scenario playing out between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana as well. The Congress started off with a strong ally in Mr. Naidu, but they've decided to now contest separately. Do you believe that it's going to be between Naidu and Jagan Mohan Reddy at this point? Where does the Congress actually stand in that? Is there a grand alliance that would play out at any point in the state of Andhra Pradesh?
Congress does not exist in Andhra Pradesh now. The Congress is decimated in Andhra Pradesh after the state was divided. And there's a tacit alliance between Naidu and the Congress party, but the main opposition, the main fight is between Congress and the YSR Congress of Jagan Mohan Reddy. And Jagan Mohan Reddy is being supported tacitly by Narendra Modi. So this does not prevent a Mahagathbandhan, because I think the Gathbandhan is there only because of Modi. They are opposing Modi. In the same way as in 1977, after the emergency, all the parties came together. Their only agenda was to oppose Indira Gandhi. And Mr. Modi is equally strong, and I think all these parties, though they have differences among themselves, will actually come up and fight Mr. Modi. And therefore, I don't see the Mahagathbandhan as dead at all. I think it's alive. It is alive, and after the elections, it will take a formal shape. Of course, there will be a lot of internal squabbles, and that is only to be expected.
Mr. Nag, so tell us this. So in that case, when these political parties say that we're not going to contest the elections together, we're not going to work out a seat-sharing deal, we're going to contest independently, compete against each other, and then perhaps come together later in the end, don't they wind up splitting the vote? Isn't that counterproductive?
Yeah, it is counterproductive, but what to do? They can't come together. Their only agenda is anti-Modi. So at this point of time, they can't. Just as Ashutosh said, in a state like West Bengal, the Congress party does not exist now, and the left party is also down. So even if Mamta is being opposed by the Congress, so what? So people will contest the polls with their strengths, and after the election, they'll get together. I think that is what the shape of things are going to be, because they are, whatever you say, they are there together only because of Mr. Modi, only because of Mr. Modi. And just as in 1977, everybody was there, Janata Party was formed only because of Mrs. Gandhi.
Like,
so I don't think the
also, Mr. Nag, if we talk about Telangana at this point, Telangana is now a single party state, really. It doesn't even have an opposition anymore. So, is it going to the TRS and through the TRS to the BJP?
I don't know. This gentleman is a very cunning man. He's also talked about another federal front, which can oppose this front. But generally, we believe that he's Mr. Modi. Though in the last 2 days, both of them are making statements which will show that they are opposed to each other. And but it seems that there are a lot of Muslim votes in Telangana, and I think Mr. Modi is being attacked by K. Chandrasekhar Rao only to get the Muslim votes. And at the same time, Mr. Modi also came to the state and started criticizing K. Chandrasekhar Rao. Though a lot of people say it is a fixed match, I don't know. Let us see.
Okay.
But it's a fact that K. Chandrasekhar Rao has prime ministerial ambitions. He thinks that he can form a federal front and actually become the prime minister.
Is there anyone without prime ministerial ambitions at this point? Anyone who doesn't want to be prime minister?
No, pretty much no one. I think they all fancy themselves as
because at this point, if we actually count them, Mayawati considers herself a candidate, obviously. So does Mamata Banerjee. So does Chandrababu Naidu. Now we understand KCR considers himself a candidate. Obviously, Rahul Gandhi considers himself a candidate. That's already 5. Then there are other options we perhaps haven't listed out yet. So that might be a fundamental problem.
That will be. I mean, of course, prime ministerial ambition is one aspect, I think. But I still believe that here the trouble is that the logic of coming up with a Mahagathbandhan was to use arithmetic to trump what possibly could be chemistry. You really need a mathematical game to beat the BJP. And for instance, Uttar Pradesh, very effectively, and I again disagree slightly when we believe that Congress will make no difference to the BSP-SP alliance.
Yes.
From a straight bipolar fight, it has now turned itself into a tri-cornered fight in many seats. Not all the seats, of course, because Congress is weak, but with the emergence of Priyanka Gandhi, with all those other elements, in a tight contest, even if a party chips away 10,000 votes, it makes a difference.
So if we actually looked at the 2014 numbers, and the SP-BSP would have done, I mean, the BSP didn't do too much in 2014, but since then they've done fairly well. But if the SP-BSP Congress had come together in 2014, they would have done far better. Absolutely. And they would have technically not lost to the BJP at all.
Absolutely.
So the 3 of them having cornered or broken away some vote share, coming together after the elections will form a very strong group. Are we... Is the peg at 63 out of 80 or close to 70 out of 80?
If they would have come together, it could have been in that range for sure. Yes. Because obviously, in a bipolar contest, the BJP's arithmetic doesn't add up. The other side's arithmetic is far superior. But also remember that the transferability of votes between one party and another, especially in states where the 2 parties which have come together were inimical to each other, is not 100%.
Yes.
So when BSP and SP come together, it's not as if 100% votes will transfer. Jatavs who support the BSP, for instance, do transfer en masse, but the reverse doesn't happen. So it will be very difficult to believe that 100% of Yadav votes which have supported SP will go en bloc to a BSP candidate. That won't happen. So you will have an incremental loss of transferability in some castes, and that plays a big role and makes a contest tighter. This is where the presence of Congress and their strategy in ticket distribution, for instance, is a little odd. And I don't think they're quite helping the cause by trying to target the BJP and at local level also trying to target some of the other parties too. I mean, that's not a strategy which is very smart, because even a 3, 4, 7, 8 seat difference can mean a lot in a contest which is going to be tightly controlled.
Mr. Qurban Ali joins us out of Noida. Mr. Ali, good evening. Very interesting thing happened today. The Prime Minister played the religion card, and this time openly made no bones about it. He actually made a statement saying this is Hindu anger, and Rahul Gandhi is running away from Hindu anger into a place where Hindus are in minority, which it turns out is not exactly true. Wayanad is not entirely a Hindu minority constituency. But does this mean all of the other issues, all the other questions have been now banked because the BJP is nervous? Is this a sign of a nervous BJP, Mr. Ali?
Of course, BJP is nervous, and you have rightly said that it's showing its nervousness. But the thing is that the politics of anti-BJP forces is in a way helping Narendra Modi in a big way. The announcement of Rahul Gandhi for contesting the Wayanad, I mean, this is totally out of anybody's thinking, you know, because left are their natural allies, and they are fighting against them only in Kerala. Same is in Uttar Pradesh. I mean, why Congress party is trying to revive itself on the eve of the elections, in these elections where they think that they can get 20 seats or more than that of what they got in 2009. But the thing is that SP-BSP alliance is a formidable alliance against BJP, and they may emerge as a bloc of 40 to 50 seats, and they would ultimately help Rahul Gandhi. But Congress is not thinking in that way, and that's why BJP and NDA is getting benefited by this politics of the fractured opposition, and they are trying their hard to polarize this election, because that's the only thing left for them. So they can polarize the Hindu sentiments and they can win the election the same way the Congress party won the elections in 1984. In that election, RSS was supporting Congress party, and remember at that election even Atal Bihari Vajpayee lost from the Gwalior, and Congress got 410 seats. So Narendra Modi, it's a advantage Narendra Modi, and he is trying his best. And you see in UP, they are having a coalition with the smaller parties like Suhel Rajbhar party and the Apna Dal. Every day they are abusing BJP and its government, but even then they are tolerating, because they know that if they are in the coalition with the Suhel Rajbhar party and Apna Dal, they can win many seats in UP. So this is the situation, and advantage BJP.
Right. So, you know, this is the other question that we have to ask, that while the Congress doesn't seem as strong as they would like to be, the BJP is not as strong perhaps as they were immediately after they won in 2014. It does seem like a party that is, or the strategy at this point is throwing up different cards constantly, bringing in religion at a point when the Election Commission very clearly said that you cannot make religious statements. And this is not a statement that will be easily ignored. This is the Prime Minister himself. Do you believe that the BJP themselves, if you consider Uttar Pradesh, you consider Kerala, you consider Andhra Pradesh, they're not as strong, West Bengal, they're not as strong as they were earlier?
No, they weren't. I mean, of course they're not. And I think Mr. Gurban Ali is right. If you ask me personally, I can't understand the strategy or the logic of having Rahul Gandhi contest in Wayanad unless, and now this is the narrative that the BJP will, the opposition will mount against them, unless you're a little worried about Amethi. Why else would you go there? Because the benefits that you will accrue from that probably are less than the disadvantages you have. He was talking about left being a natural ally. I'll give you an example. Coalition management is a lot about micromanagement. In Bihar, for instance, the CPI still has a significant amount of influence in certain seats. They may not have one. There are 3 CPI MLAs in the Bihar Assembly, by the way. And in at least 7, whether it is Begusarai, whether it is Siwan, whether it is Ara, the CPI has traditionally had a presence there. The Congress doesn't want to ally with them. It makes no sense. In Begusarai, for instance, the CPI candidate last time got almost 2 lakh votes. In a couple of other seats where Rabri Devi contested, for instance, the CPI candidates got 55 to 60,000 votes. It makes no sense for the Congress to actually come in with this arrogance and ego and not go in with this, because those votes will prove costly in a situation where the contest is a little closer than what one would expect. It doesn't make sense. So now, by doing what he's doing in Kerala, there is because you have to oppose the left here, you can't support the left in Bengal, and you obviously can't do that in Bihar either. You've completely, for no rhyme or reason, done that, except for a defensive strategy, whether you may be accused of being very worried about Amethi.
Right. Okay, so we're opening this up for questions. Our phone lines are open and Involve is open as well, and I'll ask the panel the questions that you ask, because the idea is to understand what is really going on. Mr. Raut, I saw your hand go up. Bharat Kumar Raut, go ahead, please.
Yeah, what I thought that the move Amit Shah and Modi played in Uttar Pradesh in 2014, then the assembly elections in UP, and now I think a very shrewd move. What they have realized that if SP and Mayawati, they come together and Congress support them, then it is a one-on-one fight. Then in that case, BJP is sure to lose in every seat. Therefore, they have in 2014, Amit Shah saw to it that Mayawati contested separately. Now what they are doing is that they have Mayawati and SP are cut together, and perhaps Amit Shah ensured that Congress will not join that force. So if there is a triangular fight in every constituency, in each constituency BJP has an advantage, though in minority. So this is an advantage that BJP is likely to get in UP.
But Mr. Rao, I don't understand
in
what
Kerala,
you mean when you
Rahul
say...
Gandhi is going there and contesting.
Yes. When you say that Amit Shah has ensured that they don't fight together and they go separately, how does Amit Shah do that?
No, these are some activities those take place behind the curtain on the back seat. I'm told, being a journalist, that it was Amit Shah who has been playing these cards very secretly, and he has promoted or prompted Mayawati to ensure that Congress is not part of the alliance. That is my information. Okay. I'm subject to correction, but I'm sure that this has happened.
Ashutosh, go ahead.
See, Faye, I think 2-3 things we are forgetting. I think 2019 election is entirely different, and comparison with 2009 or 2004 will be a futile exercise. Even comparison with 2014 will be a futile exercise, because in 2019 the social divide is extremely sharp. People are divided so much that everybody knows who is going to vote for whom. Today, the upper caste is solidly with BJP, but similar thing cannot be said about the Dalits, about the backwards, and about the Muslims. And there is a very strong tacit understanding between Dalits and the Muslims in almost every constituency. So to assume that the third party entry in any political constituency will help BJP, I am not buying that argument for that matter. I have a little bit experience of UP, and I can tell you that if the Congress is found little bit in a position to win, the vote will not go to BJP, SP and Samajwadi Party. The vote will consolidate with Congress Party. And if there is a chance of Samajwadi Party and the BSP doing very well, Congress will will not be getting votes there.
So here's a question I must ask.
The social divide is so acute this time that it will be very difficult to determine, to define election with traditional parameters. That is my understanding.
All right, so here's a question I must ask, Vinay, and it's a very urban question, so you'll roll your eyes a little bit. But we've spent the last year and a half talking about how farmers are in acute distress at this point, and it's actually gotten progressively worse over the last 1 year. And how young India right now is frustrated, and we have the largest number of young people voting this time. They're frustrated by the lack of opportunities. Are we, and every time we have these conversations, it becomes about Muslims and Dalits and caste and upper caste. Is India going to continue to vote based on religion and caste? Or will the issues of farm crisis and job crisis actually make a difference to how people vote?
Unfortunately, and I wish I had a different answer, but unfortunately in large parts of the country, religion and caste will continue to play a role at least for a few more elections. I don't see that going away at all. Yes, in urban areas maybe it has slightly altered to some extent. But there are large swathes of this country, whether it is Uttar Pradesh or Bihar, where from candidate selection to even choosing the right subcaste, it's not even about caste, it's now about subcaste. In Bihar, social engineering has gone down to the level of identifying EBCs. It's not even SC, STs, OBCs, backward communities, it's now EBCs.
So the farmers we've been talking about in Madhya Pradesh, in Rajasthan, in Uttar Pradesh, who are in Bihar, who are in acute distress, are likely to vote based on their caste?
Well, it depends. And the other thing which I think which we must accept is that India is we tend to analyze India as one solid whole, where it is not. Every state has its own politics and it plays it out differently. In certain parts, in certain states, yes, farmers' distress will have a huge role to play. The 3 state assemblies results where BJP suffered was an example of that, where there was distress was acute and the BJP paid a price for that. But in other states, it will play out a little differently. Even in Uttar Pradesh, for instance, farmer crisis is different in Western UP and it is different in Eastern UP. There is a reason why you will see Western UP farmers protesting, but not Eastern UP farmers. You will rarely see Eastern UP farmers carrying out a morcha. You will always see Western UP farmers carrying out a morcha, because even in that state, the politics varies from Bundelkhand to Western UP, from Awadh to Central UP, and in Eastern UP. So we are a very complicated country, and it plays out differently. Farmers' issues are important, but they will play it out differently. There will be overriding factors of caste and religion in many, many constituencies. And I think that's where a smarter political party adds to its plus vote. It's about how much more you can add to your core, and that's where the game of arithmetic really is critical.
In fact, the BJP in 2017 won on the issue of migration of voters in Kairana, and another, the young voters in Kairana right now, as our colleague Aishuman filed in his report, are not happy at this point. And it's also true with sugarcane farmers in Uttar Pradesh who feel that they have not been paid. But anybody who wants to disagree with Vinay about voting based on caste and religion, if that's still going to be how India will cast its vote in large tracts of the country. Mr. Ali, West Bengal, for example, has... Yes. Do you want to weigh in on that? Will it continue to be a caste-based, religion-based vote?
Unfortunately, Faye, this is a reality in our country, that people are voting on caste and religious line. And the last time which I have noticed, it was the 1980 election, which was beyond caste and religion. So unfortunately, be it 84 or 89 and onwards, the caste and the religion has become reality, and political parties are trying to garner support on the basis of the caste and religion. But the thing is that if we can put agenda, or as you have rightly mentioned about the farmer distress and the agrarian crisis and the unemployment, these are the basic issues, and the election should be contested on these very issues. But nobody is interested in it. I mean, the political parties, although the civil society is aggressively pursuing this agenda, but nobody is listening. What Mr. Yogendra Yadav and other people are saying about this agrarian crisis, nobody is listening them. So this has again became a election of politics and religion, and unfortunately the religion and politics is getting space in this election also.
Yes, that is very unfortunate. But let me just go to the questions our audience is asking at this point.
Faye, I just want to make a... Faye,
yes. Just 1 second. Mr. Bharat Kumar Raut put his hand up, but here's a question that's coming. Is the opposition not worried about splitting votes? That's from Naveen. Mahesh Gupta says, the opposition is fighting elections separately. Will that harm them, and will it split votes? Should they be worried about splitting of votes? And if the Mahagathbandhan does come together after the elections, how stable will that be? That's a question from Rahul Kumar. Mr. Raut, go ahead.
I would like to respond on this, Faye.
Yes. As I said earlier, this is a dream. Mahagathbandhan in Indian politics at national level is a dream. They cannot come together if they stay. They come together and they will not fetch votes. But after the elections, if they try to come together, that will not be a lasting government. The government will be very, very fragile, and we have seen that this type of fragile governments before, because I remember in Charan Singh government, Indira Gandhi brought it down in no time. Chandrasekhar government, Congress brought down in no time, and after that we have seen Bajpayee's government and Indra Kumar Gujarat's government.
If I were to rebut
government, those governments they were also Gathbandhan government.
No, but Mr. Rao, technically from the 1980s till today, we've had only 2 full majority governments. That was Rajiv Gandhi and Narendra Modi. Other than that, this is a country that has always had alliances that have run the country, for better or for worse. We are a multi-party system, and alliance is perhaps a more natural occurrence than a full majority. But
I would like to say something on it.
Yes, one by one, please. Ashutosh.
Yes. In that context, I was saying, in this type of situation, one party has to be very strong. Like that time in UPA 1, Congress was very strong. That if that or in Bajpayee's government, Bajpayee's BJP was very strong. If there's one very strong party and if others come together to support them and they're very absolute minority, then these type of governments can run, but not when all are near equal. And in today's times, I would say that all would be near equal, and then there will be chaos.
Okay, so there's no one, so there's no engine on this train. There are just bogies that are actually pushing rather than pulling. Ashutosh, go ahead. Yes.
Faye, I think there is a lot of misconception about the coalition politics. India, if you see from 1991 onwards till 2019, India has progressed when India was not led by a very strong leader, not by one party in majority. Narasimha Rao government has started unleashed economic reforms, and it was a minority government supported by different small political parties. And it has turned India from a poor country to getting into to bringing prosperity to this country. The Atal Bihari Vajpayee government was again led by 23 political parties. It was again a coalition government, and almost on a daily basis, the government used to withdraw a policy here and a policy there. And Yashwant Sinha was called as a U-turn finance minister, if I remember correctly. And even Manmohan Singh government ran 10 years. And in the first UPA government, when Congress had only 142 or 43 member of parliament, but the maximum economic progress has taken place from 2004 to 2011 minus 2005 to 2008, when economic GDP growth rate was almost touching 9%. So to say that a strong leader is needed for the country, I do not believe into that. I think coalition is the nature of India, and the coalition will succeed in this country and will bring prosperity.
But to grant Mr. Rao what he did say,
that we need a strong leader, we need a strong political party, does not understand Indian polity.
Right, Ashutosh, to grant Mr. Rao what he did say, he said that the coalition needs to have a strong party. So, for example, UPA was very clearly Congress-led. NDA, the one that you were mentioning, was very clearly BJP-led. It wasn't a coming together of equals. And every time we've had that, it hasn't managed to hold together.
Well, I mean, look...
So before you answer, one more question. Isn't a coalition government good for a nation like India? And this is Vidyahar, good for a nation like India. So parties can get sort of their views from different... So it's more... every state then gets representation in the center, and it's not sort of authoritarian.
It's both good and bad, and there have been examples of both. But again, I'll have a slight I mean, Ashu, I go back a long way, but I'll again disagree with him. I mean, I'll tell you where I disagree. I think we are looking at the wrong data. The data of whether there were 23 parties or 29 parties is not relevant. What is relevant is how many seats did the principal leader in that group had. I personally have a theory of you need to touch the magic figure of between 165 and 185. If one of the parties doesn't have that, you have a problem. You cannot have a situation where 10 parties have 40-40 each. That doesn't work. You need one of them.
If someone has 110 or 120?
It's still very weak, because then you have a situation like what happened during, what happened when Manmohan Singh secretaries with DMK, for instance. It collapsed under the weight in a situation where the Manmohan Singh government couldn't act against his ally because they were dependent on them, and ultimately led to the whole issue of
the collapse of the entire thing.
Yes. You need 170, 180 kind of a party, and then have 70, 80, 90 seats from the coalition partners to run the government.
Anyone in the Grand Alliance, you believe, has the ability to reach 160?
The others can't, because they're all state parties. Can the Congress come back with 170, 180? That's a huge question.
Yes. All right. I saw Qurban Ali. He's wanted to come in for a while. Mr. Ali, go ahead. Mr. Ali first, then Mr. Nag.
Yeah, Faye, I would like to respond to your earlier question. The problem with the Congress party, which is heading the main opposition party, that they never believed in coalition dharma or the coalition politics. I would like to remind you that in 2003, there was a Pachmadi conference of the Congress party, and in that conference, they have decided that they would go alone, ekla chalo. And soon after the assembly elections of 2003 in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, they came to in the terms that now we will have a coalition, and in 2004 they formed the coalition. But still they are in the hangover that they were the ruling party from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Kutch to Kohima. So they will dictate the terms. They should, I think, better learn from the left front government led by Jyoti Basu in West Bengal, Bengal, where in many elections CPM won the elections at their own with the majority, but they never leave CPI, RSP and forward bloc. So this kind of initiative is not there from the Congress side, and that's why they are losing in this election. So this is my take on your first question.
All right, we have three people on the phone line. Sesh has called in from London. Sesh, go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, well, the tacit understanding between YCP, TRS, BJD, they are not aligned, but they are they have an understanding with the BJP. Will their tacit understanding hurt them in their respective states?
Well, that's a good question. Ashwin from Mumbai. Ashwin, do you have a question?
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I want to say they are very strategically fighting in UP, West Bengal and Andhra, because the Congress will only hurt BJP in UP, and CPM and Congress will hurt BJP in West Bengal. So what I feel is it's very strategically they are fighting. We may find in the studios that people may not agree, but I think it's
So you believe that there is a master plan here. Shiva on the phone line from Bangalore. Shiva, go ahead.
Hi everyone. My view, I just want to comment. I don't have a question. My comment is the Mahagathbandhan. I don't think is going to work. Simply for the reason is, the Mahagathbandhan, they are not united, Each have different voices. And, many people here, common people, don't even know what is Mahagathbandhan, who are involved in it.
But Shiva, to be fair, what will happen is a lot of the people in regional, in different states will vote for the regional party of their choice. Mr. Nag, the question about the tacit understanding that you mentioned between the YCP, the TRS and the BJP, and where does that leave the MIM then? If the TRS and the BJP are in an understanding, the MIM will find itself in a very uncomfortable position because it's neither here nor there.
MIM is also a very funny party. It is in tacit alliance with the BJP because through TRS. That's what I feel, and I find it very funny. But before that, I want to say another point which I have been wanting to say for a long time. I think Rahul Gandhi is ready to sacrifice the prime ministerial position to some other partner. And he will want to become somebody like a UPA chairman like Sonia Gandhi. This is my understanding of the situation. And if that happens, I think the Mahagathbandhan can work. Because Rahul Gandhi will not stake for the prime ministerial position.
That's actually very interesting. Do you agree Rahul Gandhi will have to...
So in that sense that Mahagathbandhan will become more workable.
Yes, because, in Karnataka, when they were fighting really hard, they had to give up the chief minister's seat to Mr. Kumaraswamy, and that was the only way they could hold on, to that state. Is that going to happen on the national stage? Will Rahul Gandhi have to give up the prime ministerial seat?
I agree with Kingshuk. I think that is most likely or more likely to happen simply because, look, for Rahul Gandhi to accept a prime ministerial position in an alliance which could be shaky will make him lose more than gain. But if you stay out of that hot seat, you can take the larger position, you can take the higher moral ground in many ways, not just by giving away somebody, but if something goes wrong, you're not exactly the fall guy for it. So, I mean, it's something that makes sense.
I just want to take you back to the numbers you were talking about earlier. The SP plus the BSP are now aiming, from what I understand, at 70 out of 80 seats in Uttar Pradesh. That will make them very powerful. Will it be necessary for the Congress to outdo that in order to be the leads of that alliance? And can they, outdo it substantially?
There is no way Congress can outdo BSP at all. I mean, the Congress's cadre is very weak in large parts of the country. Yes, there has been some amount of enthusiasm since Priyanka came in, but she came in way too late. They should have started 4 years ago for it to make any major difference. But I think Bharat Raut mentioned it, and I don't totally disagree with him on this. There are circles within circles in this election. Kingshuk is alluding to that in the state of Andhra and Telangana. And I can guarantee you there is much the same murmur even in UP, where people do believe that because Mahagathbandhan has several cases still active against her, which this current government has decided to go easy on, there is some kind of a tacit deal that she has. Look, Mayawati plays a very sharp game. She's not just batting for this election, she's also batting for the next assembly elections. She's not looking at this as only as a 2019 battle. She's looking at 2022 as well. And she knows that if she doesn't play this game, there is a danger of her getting wiped out, not just wiped out politically if she doesn't ally.
The Prime Minister right now playing the religion card and saying Hindus are angry with the Congress. Let's also consider the fact that he did not deliver a mandir. That the one thing that the group, the Hindu right-wingers wanted most of all was the mandir in Ayodhya, which has not been delivered. Is this to distract from that?
Well, but if you see, the RSS itself has nudged them to go easy on the mandir issue. In the last month or so, they've gone easy. They were very strident about it. 2017, when the assembly election victory happened, they anointed Yogi Adityanath in because they wanted to make it even more strident. But if you see in the last month or so, they've gone a little softer on the mandir issue because they've realized that it's not exactly working out. Now, I am still saying that in UP, mandir issue and religion is slightly different. Mandir as a card has been used many, many times. So there is some amount of tiredness about mandir. I mean, in 90s, for instance, there was a popular slogan, "Bhuke pet bhajan nahi hota." UP mein everybody would say that.
So there's
but
some fatigue with that.
Religion still helps you divide, and that's something that they will continue to play.
All right, we have a couple of phone calls, and I want to bring in Govind Rajan on the phone line from Chennai. Govind, go ahead. All right, Govind's not on the phone line anymore, but I'll read out his question. Is this the end of communist politics in India? Is that a valid question to ask? Is it in fact the end? Another question that's come in from Ved Prakash Sharma is it better to have a strong prime ministerial candidate or credible, strong, intelligent cabinet? Is that better for the country? But Ved Prakash, I'm assuming you have to have a strong prime minister in order to hold that cabinet together and to hold any sort of alliance together. But the question about communist politics is perhaps a valid question at this point, given the fact that it's, West Bengal was a stronghold. It's completely lost West Bengal. Mamata Banerjee is aiming to win all the seats that are up for grabs in West Bengal, barring none. So the communists have really lost ground across the country. Is this the end of that politics? And now that Rahul Gandhi has decided to step into Kerala and take them on in their stronghold as well. Mr. Raut's hand is up. Go ahead, Mr. Raut.
Yeah, I think that now the left movement on its own, including the Communist Party, particularly the Marxist Communists, it is a sunset party. It is a sunset alliance of all communist parties. Because in Tripura, they have gone. In West Bengal, they are gone. Now the only state they can hold on to is Kerala, where they have the chief minister. But even there, they are on a losing ground. So, and if they take on Rahul Gandhi in this election, perhaps they will take further beating, because then Congress will go after communists rather than going after BJP in Kerala, because in Kerala, BJP is not the threat. In Kerala, the threat is the left parties. And if they are taking on Rahul Gandhi like this, then that will be end of communists in Kerala also. So I think it is on a low tide basis. So I don't see any prospects for the left parties, particularly the communists, the Marxist communists, in the near future.
The person we must talk about, and this question I must ask, is Mamata Banerjee. Mamata Banerjee has become extremely powerful in West Bengal. She has the faith of her people and the support of her people. And let's remember her history. She was at some point a coalition partner of both the BJP and the Congress. So there's history there as well. How important a player will Mamata Banerjee be, Vinay? Is she perhaps a prime ministerial candidate as well?
Very important player, because also remember West Bengal is a large state with 40 odd seats. It's a very large state. Very important player for sure.
It's the third largest after Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra. Yes.
Now, ironically, Mamata's politics in West Bengal mimics or mirrors exactly that of the left. I mean, her ability to use violence, for instance, the way the violent nature of the cadre that you have is almost a carbon copy of what we saw on the left, perhaps if not worse in many parts. She has that ability to do that on the streets. So in that sense, ironically, while we don't consider TMC as a left party, the kind of politics she plays in the streets is exactly what the left would do forever in that state. And hence, her ability to take on the BJP in that sense is way stronger in many ways. I mean, you have to give her a lot of credit for having held off BJP's assault on that state. If you remember, there were a lot of attempts being made. If you remember, Ajit Doval was rushed to that state many, many times to create a narrative of national security in that state. She's been able to hold that back, and she's a very smart, clever and a very street savvy politician. And I think there are very, very few politicians left in this country who are that street savvy as Mamta. So she is not to be taken non-seriously at all.
Well, you know, the likelihood, Mr. Kingshuk Nag, on a scale of 1 to 10, that we might see a Prime Minister who is neither Rahul Gandhi nor Narendra Modi, but from one of the regional parties. Do you see that as a possibility?
Yes, I'd see this as a possibility. And from the opposition side, there are two contenders. One is Mamata Banerjee, other is Chandrababu Naidu, though he's not doing so well. From BJP, if Modi government doesn't do very well, then it is Nitin Gadkari. That's my preliminary thinking. What will happen, we don't know. But one thing about Mamata I want to say. In West Bengal, it is a fight between what I call Ram versus Rahim. Because Mamata Banerjee is dependent on the 35% Muslim votes there. And she is taking on Modi, who is now playing the card of Ram there. Amit Shah is playing the card of Ram there. And Mamata Banerjee is playing so-called Rahim card. So it's Ram versus Rahim. And the toughest battle in this country will be in West Bengal. And whatever happens in West Bengal will mirror across the country. And I think we should watch the West Bengal elections very closely. I feel so. In other states, of course, it's the usual fight. But it's a Ram-Rahim fight in West Bengal, let me tell you that.
Well, it's certainly going to be a nail-biting finish, we can tell you that, because nobody has a clear idea right now of how this is going to play out. It's going to go down to the last very seat. There are two things we ought to be doing as voters this year. First of all, vote. You should have registered already. If you haven't registered and you're not in the first couple of phases, then please go to the Election Commission office in your neighborhood and make sure that and try and see if you can register. The other thing is to vote based on the best possible option in your constituency on the member of parliament you're voting for. Make sure the person doesn't have cases against him. Make sure he has good attendance. If he has been an MP so far in parliament, has asked questions, he has participated, he or she has participated in debates, all of this information is in the public domain. Vote for a good, strong member of parliament. And from that system, a prime minister will be chosen. That's the system we follow in India. It's a parliamentary system, it's not a presidential system. So you don't vote for the individual, you vote for the member of parliament. Good luck to all of us, but we will continue to take a close look at how this is playing out and what this means really going into a very crucial election for India. Thanks for watching.